In one of my classes, a few years ago, I was painting a demonstration when my tube of burnt sienna ran out. I had noticed the tube getting low and had a backup. I put the new burnt sienna on my palette and got back to work. But as I was working, my color mixtures looked entirely different. I took a second and compared my tubes of burnt sienna. And sure enough, the index names and numbers were different. I had replaced a Winsor & Newton burnt sienna with a Gamblin burnt sienna, and the two were built from entirely different compounds. It turns out that most manufacturers print a clue to what's in the tube of paint you've purchased, but unfortunately, it's not the name that's printed on the front of the tube. I mentioned the index name and number a few seconds ago. These names and numbers were established by ASTM International. ASTM stands for the American Society for Testing of Materials. The index name abbreviations are pretty straightforward. The first letter is P and simply stands for the word pigment. I've Googled the index, and there are other beginning letters on the list. But paints are built from pigments, so P. This is the abbreviation for pigment red. This is pigment green, and this is pigment white. Hope you can see the logic here. Pigment yellow, pigment violet, and pigment orange. The only roadblock comes with pigment blue, black, and brown, which all start with the letter B. They solve this dilemma by giving the primary blue the single letter abbreviation, and abbreviating black with a BK and brown with a BR. This is the complete list of pigment index names. Unfortunately, this is where the easy part of the system ends. Now we have index numbers, and they seem almost random. I believe new pigment compounds are added as they're discovered, but how the hundreds of existing pigments got inserted into the index, I have no idea. Here are some examples from Gamblin's colors. Ultramarine blue is a pigment blue 29. Cadmium red is a pigment red 108. Titanium white is a pigment white 6. This last color, transparent earth orange, is a mixture of two pigments, pigment yellow 42 and pigment red 101. Here are the two different pigments used to build the two burnt siennas described in the first part of this video. To find a pigment that worked like the Winsor & Newton burnt sienna, a pigment red 101, I had to look through Gamblin's colors to find a brown built from a pigment red 101. Gamblin calls this color transparent earth red. Unfortunately, every manufacturer will name this pigment something different. When I first learned about pigment index numbers, I thought I'd broken the code. If I was at the art store and I wanted a particular color and it was a pigment red 101, I'd just buy a pigment red 101 and my troubles were over, right? Well, of course not. It turns out that pigments built from the same compound come in a variety of different hues. Here are three colors made from the same pigment but having different hues. Cadmium red light, cadmium red medium, and cadmium red deep are all made from pigment red 108. You can learn more about pigments from this book, The Artist's Handbook of Materials and Techniques by Ralph Myers. It's a good resource for artists of every stripe. Thanks. I hope this has been helpful. If you find this video valuable, there are many ways to support it. You can subscribe, you can give it the thumbs up, you can share it on social media, or you can support it directly through Patreon. A link to my Patreon account is provided on the video information page below. Thank you, and good luck with your work.